Hey guys, it's HoppingHammy, and today's video is going to be a little bit different from usual, but I think the things we'll talk about is very important for all of us in the hamster community to discuss together. Now I'm going to do my best to keep this video as lighthearted as possible by including cute hamster footage for you to watch while I talk. But it is a serious topic, so I hope we can take the feedback I'm about to share to heart and do our best to become part of the solution, not part of the problem. I also would encourage anyone listening to this video to please feel free to get involved in the conversation by leaving your thoughts or experiences below, because I would love to hear them. My goal with making this video is not for it to be me preaching at anyone, but rather opening up a place where we can all have conversation and input on the topic at hand. I also want to make it abundantly clear that I did not put together this video for us to gossip about any specific people in the community, so all discussion you share needs to be kept generic and not aimed towards anyone. Alright, so with those ground rules laid down, let's get into it. A few weeks back on Instagram, I asked a small group of people for some input. The question I asked was, what are some things you've observed amongst the hamster community that you don't understand, don't like, or that you think needs to change going forward? Now, there were a bunch of replies, so I'm going to be anonymously sharing some of the feedback with you all, but I wanted to point out that the recurring theme from most of the messages I received seems to all point towards the same issue, which is how judgmental, harsh, critical, or extreme that the hamster community oftentimes is, especially when sharing information with others. This feedback helped to validate my own concerns and observations that I've noticed since returning back to the world of hamster keeping. I would say these issues were always present in past, but it appears to have gotten worse over time. So, I have many of my own personal thoughts to share later on in this video, but first I would like to read some of the comments and feedback that others in the community have voiced. As a reminder again, the question asked was, what are some things you've observed amongst the hamster community that you don't understand, don't like, or that you think needs to change going forward? Comment number 1 said, the judgment. Everyone is learning. I understand you need to research before you get a pet, but not everyone is perfect from day one. Comment number 2 said, the pet community overall seems so critical now, like you need to have the best of the best for your pets, or you're a bad pet owner. I miss the simpler pet tuber days. Comment number 3 said, people can be very quick to judge and assume. I've seen people get ripped to shreds over a temporary cage, even though they mention it's temporary and are waiting on a new big tank or enclosure. People can be very harsh about buying from a pet store. Even if you are above the minimum for an enclosure, people expect these huge, big enclosures now that not everyone can afford. Also, I've seen people get really mean about people not using enough bedding. I think people need to ask questions before judging, and then be educated instead of being mean. Comment number 4 said, this is really obvious, but jumping down people's throats who didn't do the research and made a ton of mistakes. Yes, it's frustrating, and yes, it shouldn't happen, but if you're nasty and critical about it, no one is going to listen to you. It's not about sugarcoating things. It's about being patient and kind. State the facts, but don't accuse. Comment number 5 said, personally, a significant enough reason as to why I don't own hamsters anymore currently is because of how extreme hamster owners have become. It's not even just they need bigger enclosures, but a lot of social media accounts have a this is what they need to thrive, and if you can't provide this, then you're abusing your hamster cutthroat approach. I think far more people enjoy educational style videos in which you provide a reason in a kind manner about why hamsters need XYZ, if that makes sense. Maybe it's just the videos that were on my TikTok feed for a while, but it was like video after video were just snarky creators constantly nitpicking other hamster owners, and I think it rubs people the wrong way a bit. That's just for me personally. I feel like a lot of the hamster community, at least that trends on TikTok, has become more so about who has the largest cage and not even about the love of the animal. Comments number 6 and 7 said, things like jealousy, and the need to create random minimums and when not followed, told it isn't proper care. Comment number 8 says, in general, I think things are moving forward, which is a good thing. Care is getting better, but it bothers me that it will never be enough for some. The list with dangerous objects and toys is growing, and for some items, I really don't see the point. For example, saucer wheels. Some say they are dangerous, but I think it depends on the hamster if they can handle it. Or, for example, bendable bridges, who are suddenly dangerous. Or that wheels need to be bigger and bigger, while I personally think that that also depends on your hamster. You have to monitor their back. If it's straight and your hamster runs fine on the wheel, it's big enough. But I really don't mean to be negative at all, and I really like that cages and care are getting better. But sometimes people get angry because it's still not enough in their eyes. I think especially some Syrians tend to never be satisfied with their cage. So I am really happy there's so much info online, but some folks are extreme. And finally, comment number 9, which says, I think the biggest pitfall we have is we all love hamsters so much. So when someone who also claims to love hamsters does something different than someone else, they automatically are the problem. We make each other the enemy. If we used that same energy and reminded ourselves we are not fighting against each other, we all want the same core thing, betterment for hamsters and their care, and then we could work together, pride aside, and go against the true evils, rodent mills and uneducated pet care. Okay, thank you guys for sitting through all of that feedback, and thank you so much to everyone who sent in your messages and input on Instagram. I really appreciate it. So now I would like to go through some of these comments individually and share my own personal thoughts and observations. And again, please feel free to join in the discussion by leaving your comments below for others to read and participate in. First of all, I think the last comment number 9, was very insightful and mature, and is a good reminder that we are all in this hobby because we love hamsters, and I truly believe we all want what is best for them. Like, I don't doubt that anyone's heart doesn't want what's best for our hamsters. However, the way we come to a conclusion of what is best might look differently from someone else's conclusion or experience. Many of our beliefs are formed by personal experiences, so it's easy to take those beliefs or experiences and turn them into a standard blanket rule for everyone to follow, when really the world is not always as black and white as we think it is. There are a lot of gray areas depending on various factors such as the hamster's personality, individual needs, space, finances, health, or available options and resources for each person. The belief that there is only one right way of doing something in pet care is oftentimes what causes many of these harsh comments or extreme standards, in my opinion. Just because someone does something differently than we do does not mean they are bad or wrong, or that their hamster is automatically in danger. Now, I'd like to go back to comment number 5 again. This comment broke my heart a little to read because, first of all, I hate seeing anyone leave the hamster community or the love of hamsters because they felt nitpicked, criticized, or like they couldn't do good enough no matter how hard they tried. That is not okay to be so harsh to people, causing them to actually quit the hobby and leave. I hope we all agree that benefits no one. Now, because this comment also mentioned the large cage factor, I would like to be the first to apologize if I've ever given off the impression that everyone must follow suit and have a massive enclosure like mine in order for your hamster to be happy. That truly was never my intention with sharing my DIY cage upgrades, and I'm sorry if it ever seemed that way. For myself personally, some of you may know it was always my dream from very early on to create a huge setup for my hamsters, and I had a number of female Syrians whose behavior showed me that they needed more space in order to fully thrive and be happy. So I partly built my large cage for that reason, but also it was just my own dream to have it. By sharing it online, it was my hope to inspire others and also to show that it's possible, but never to pressure or condemn anyone who might not be able to do the same thing. So again, if I've ever hurt anyone by sharing my large cage, I truly am sorry. Now, with that said, I'll also be honest and share that when I first posted videos on my new cage in past, as well as showing Cassie exploring it, there were people who sent me nasty hate comments because they either couldn't support my dream, they didn't understand it, or simply were jealous. I think a lot of it probably was jealousy. That type of behavior is not okay either, and just because someone in the hamster community goes above and beyond to provide for their hamster doesn't mean we should be jealous or tell them that they're ridiculous if they choose to spend their hard-earned money on their pets. I see a lot of judgment towards others here if they choose to spend money on their pets to make their life good, and then I also see judgment if someone doesn't have as much money and isn't able to do the same. Neither situation is okay to criticize someone on. Now, I wanted to mention, I think it's wonderful that the care of hamsters and the understanding of their needs has gotten much better over the past decade or so. That largely is thanks to all of you in the hamster community for spreading information, so great job to everyone, and I applaud you. But with that said, can we also please make sure we're doing it in a kind way and not badgering or belittling people who perhaps are still learning or are in a tough spot for whatever reason? One thing that I've come to learn the older I get is how life's circumstances can't always be controlled, and situations might come up that were totally unexpected or unplanned for, and it really throws a monkey wrench into things. As much as we like to think we are in complete control of our lives, we really can't always control everything, especially when unexpected hardships happen. We all hope that others will be compassionate to us, right? So, before we go criticizing or judging others and assuming they're a terrible person without knowing their full situation, maybe a better way of handling it would be to ask questions to learn. Find out what their plans are. Do they intend to upgrade their hamster's home as soon as they have extra money? Were they misinformed by a pet store employee and are doing their best to relearn things? Are they genuinely ignorant but taking steps to improve? Are they just in a tough life situation? Instead of automatically assuming bad about someone, how about we assume the best while gently teaching about the areas that could use improvement? We certainly don't have to sugarcoat things and should speak up when warranted, but we also don't have to be brutal or critical about it either. Honestly, guys, some of the comments I've received personally and also have seen online have been awful and way over the top in criticizing a person who I think is doing amazing with their hamster care in general, but perhaps just needs a few minor tips. I once saw a video of someone rescuing a hamster from a tiny wire cage and putting it into a much larger wood enclosure with natural items, deeper bedding, and a large wheel. I went into the comments of that video fully expecting to read people commending this person for the huge improvement, but instead almost every comment seemed to be hammering this person for things like not having a full 8 inches of bedding and a few other minor details. I was shocked that people couldn't even find some positive things to point out or applaud this person on for trying, and instead they had to criticize and give these strict standards to follow. I really hope this person didn't leave the hamster community after that, but I wouldn't blame them if they did. I think I would have felt terrible if that was me in my early days of hamster keeping to get so much hate like that. Please, let's not normalize this type of behavior, and especially ganging up on people. I would encourage all of you, if you ever see someone being ganged up on, whether they need to improve their hamster care or not, please don't join into that. Be the one who is positive and kind, and people will be more likely to listen to your advice. One thing I don't want to be a part of is creating a hamster community that feels like an elitist group where only the best of the best can be a part of it. I want for everyone to feel safe and welcome in sharing about their hamster, whether it was adopted or bought at a store, whether they have a massive cage or a more modest cage. Whether you agree with all of their care or not, we can still support each other and be kind in our disagreements. Disagreements are okay and even very healthy for community if they're handled with maturity, respect, and dignity. For example, here's a poor way and a good way to handle a situation. A poor way to handle a situation would be, "Wow, you only have 7 inches of bedding. You're a sick and twisted person. You need at least 8 inches, dummy." A better way to get the same concern across would be something like this. "Hi there, I'm glad you're enjoying your new hammy. I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but your bedding seems a bit shallow. Would you consider making it a few inches deeper? Hamsters love burrowing and enjoy deep bedding to tunnel in." Now, personally, if I saw that type of situation, I wouldn't say anything at all about the bedding because it's clear the person is providing a decent amount, so it's unnecessary to even bring it up. But it was just a quick example of how to word things in a way that doesn't attack someone or assume the worst about them. It really isn't a big effort or inconvenience to be polite and to word comments in a nicer way. You can still get the same point across and not destroy the other person, and in fact, they will probably be more likely to take your advice if you show them respect and dignity. Maybe now is a good reminder that hamster keeping is a hobby, and the whole point of a hobby is for the love and enjoyment of it, right? If we judge each other into the ground, what's there to enjoy about it? In all the years I've been a part of this hamster community, I have happily observed that hamster care as a whole has made major strides towards excellence. But unfortunately, what I've also observed in the past few years is that it's now bordering on perfectionism and toxicity. I would say the difference between excellence and perfectionism is that with excellence, you have breathing room to not be perfect and to not expect others to be perfect. You can rest and enjoy your hobby. With perfectionism, you're striving for diminishing returns, trying to get every minuscule detail in place to be perfect, and honestly, that feels suffocating to me. It feels like running on a hamster wheel, like an endless expense of energy and not really going anywhere other than causing exhaustion. I would like to ask, is this an enjoyable way to have a hobby? And does this encourage others around us to want to be a part of that hobby? Probably not. I think it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on people, and nobody wants or needs that. Anyways, this video is probably long enough for now, but I hope all of this shared feedback has been helpful and challenging to each of us to grow and improve on, especially in the way that we teach and we give advice to others. I understand we are all very passionate about hamsters and their care, but let's not get so carried away that we start making up strict rules and standards that have no basis to them other than our own personal preference. And let's not push our own beliefs or standards onto another person and make that a blanket rule for all hamster owners to follow. Obviously, hamster owners already care very much about their hamster and are likely doing their best. Thank you guys so much for listening, and if you made it all the way to the end, thanks for hanging in there on this very tough topic. These types of videos aren't usually fun to listen to, and they certainly aren't fun for me to make them either, but I hope each of us can step up to the plate in terms of creating an atmosphere in the hamster community that we want to see, and especially to be warm, welcoming, and encouraging to all of the newcomers who are still learning, but who want to be a part of this amazing community. This community is amazing, and I want to applaud everyone who has been a part of that in some way. Thanks for listening. Jesus loves you, Sprocket and I love you, and we will see you in our next video. Bye!